Imagine a man so wealthy, his name echoes through the ages. A man whose influence stretched across the vast Roman Republic, shaping its very foundations. His name became a byword for riches, Marcus Licinius Crassus. Even today, his name conjures images of unimaginable wealth and power. His fortune rivaled the treasury of Rome itself, a personal hoard that could sway the decisions of an empire. He amassed so much wealth that it became a force unto itself, shaping the city's destiny. His financial influence permeated every level of Roman society, from the Senate to the streets. Crassus's wealth was a tool, a means to an end, and he wielded it with ruthless efficiency, bending senators and generals to his will. He understood the power of money to corrupt and control, and he used it to his advantage. But every fortune has a source and an end. The accumulation of such vast riches always comes at a price, and the higher you climb, the further you have to fall. Crassus's story is not just about money. It's a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of power and the dangers of unchecked ambition, but about what happens when ambition becomes an all-consuming fire, burning everything in its path. A fire that ultimately consumes the man who lit it. In the late Republic, a new power was rising, a force that would reshape the political landscape of Rome. The power of coin, debt, and personal fortune. The old aristocratic families were being challenged by men who had amassed wealth through trade, land ownership, and shrewd investment. Crassus mastered this domain, becoming the undisputed king of Roman finance. Knowing gold could buy loyalty, armies, and even a place in history. He understood that in Rome, money was the ultimate weapon. His tale asks, what is the true price of glory? And is any amount of wealth worth sacrificing your integrity and your soul? What happens when a man who has everything still wants more? When does the pursuit of wealth become an obsession that blinds you to all else? Unlike Caesar and Pompey, famed for their military genius, Crassus's path to power was paved with gold, not glory. Crassus was known for his money. His name was synonymous with wealth, and his influence stemmed directly from his vast fortune. He owned land, vast estates that stretched across the Italian countryside, providing him with a steady stream of income. Silver mines, extracting precious metals from the earth and adding to his already overflowing coffers. And profited from disaster, turning misfortune into opportunity with a cold, calculating efficiency. Famously creating Rome's first fire brigade, a seemingly benevolent act with a decidedly self-serving motive, which only acted after he bought the burning property, often for a pittance, knowing he could rebuild and profit, at a bargain. He was a master of the art of the deal, always looking for an edge, always seeking to maximize his profits. This cold, calculating genius, this ruthless pragmatism defined Crassus's approach to business and to life, turned every misfortune into profit. He saw opportunities where others saw only ruin, and he capitalized on them with ruthless efficiency. But this relentless drive, this insatiable hunger for wealth and power, would ultimately lead to his downfall. Set the stage for his final fatal act. His ambition knew no bounds, and he was willing to risk everything to achieve his goals. The legend of Crassus ends in a disastrous campaign in Parthia, a campaign fueled by greed and a thirst for military glory, with a chilling act of retribution at its heart. A gruesome end that serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition. This is the story of that final, terrible payment. A payment that would forever stain the legacy of Marcus Licinius Crassus. A warning written in molten gold, a symbol of the corrupting influence of wealth and the ultimate futility of earthly possessions. About the insatiable nature of human desire, a desire that can consume us all if we are not careful. Crassus, a name synonymous with unimaginable wealth, wasn't born into supreme luxury. His origins were far more humble, a stark contrast to the opulence he would later command. His ascent to power and riches began amidst the chaos and brutality of civil war, a period marked by immense personal loss and widespread societal upheaval. The turmoil of the times would forge his character and shape his ruthless approach to accumulating wealth. Forced into exile, a consequence of his family becoming targets of ruthless political purges, Crassus experienced firsthand the fragility of fortune. He was taught a harsh lesson. He learned, in the most brutal way possible, that fortune, no matter how grand, could vanish in an instant, leaving one stripped bare and vulnerable. This realization would fuel his relentless pursuit of wealth later in life. When Sulla, a ruthless and ambitious general, seized power in Rome, Crassus saw an opportunity where others saw only despair. He returned to Rome, ready to seize his chance and reclaim what he had lost, and more. He became a master manipulator of Sulla's proscriptions, the state-sanctioned murder and asset seizure of political enemies. He exploited this brutal system, buying confiscated estates for pennies on the sestertius, amassing a vast portfolio of properties at fire sale prices. Crassus was building his fortune on the ruins of others, profiting from their misfortune with ruthless efficiency. But mere acquisition wasn't enough to satisfy Crassus's ambition. He was an innovator, a shrewd and calculating entrepreneur who sought to create wealth where others saw only loss. He saw opportunity in disaster, buying fire-damaged properties at rock-bottom prices. He then created Rome's first fire brigade, a private force that only acted after he had secured a bargain with the desperate property owner, ensuring his profit from their misfortune. This ruthless yet ingenious method quickly transformed him into Rome's largest landlord, controlling a vast empire of properties across the city. Through the exploitation of prescriptions, strategic real estate acquisitions, and lucrative silver mining operations, his wealth grew to legendary proportions, becoming a symbol of both his ambition and his ruthlessness. Ancient historians, awestruck by his vast fortune, estimated it at an astounding 200 million sesterces, a sum almost incomprehensible in its magnitude. Crassus famously claimed that no man was truly rich, regardless of his coffers, unless he possessed the resources to fund and maintain his own army, a testament to his ambition and desire for power beyond mere wealth. His immense fortune was not merely a measure of financial success, a symbol of status, but a powerful weapon that he fully intended to wield on Rome's grandest political stage, influencing policy and shaping the destiny of the Republic. For Crassus, wealth was never the ultimate goal, the final destination. It was merely a means to an end, a tool to achieve his far grander ambitions. His insatiable ambition would relentlessly drive him to seek power, military glory, and lasting fame, pursuits that extended far beyond the allure of mere gold. And tragically, it would ultimately lead him to his ultimate doom, a stark reminder that even the wealthiest and most ambitious are not immune to the whims of fate. With his vast fortune secured through shrewd investments and a keen understanding of Roman real estate, Crassus craved something more, something that all the wealth in Rome couldn't buy. The ultimate Roman prize. He yearned for dignitas, that elusive combination of political power and military prestige that defined a truly great Roman. It was the key to lasting fame and influence. His chance to seize this glory came unexpectedly with the eruption of the Spartacus Rebellion, a massive slave revolt that threatened the very heart of the Republic. Seeing an opportunity to prove his military prowess, Crassus funded and personally led a new army, pouring his own wealth into equipping and training his legions to crush the slave revolt. He achieved a decisive victory, but just as he was about to claim his due, Pompey arrived at the last moment with his troops and claimed much of the credit for ending the rebellion, fueling a bitter rivalry that would simmer for years to come, poisoning Roman politics. Recognizing the danger of their escalating feud, and to better manage their individual ambitions, Crassus, Pompey, and the rising star Julius Caesar forged a powerful alliance, forming what history would remember as the First Triumvirate. This was a secret alliance, a pact made in the shadows, designed to circumvent the traditional institutions of the Republic and dominate Roman politics for their own benefit. Crassus brought his immense wealth to the table. Pompey contributed his unparalleled military glory and the loyalty of his legions, and Caesar provided his undeniable popular appeal and his growing political influence. Together, these three men effectively controlled Rome, manipulating elections and bending the Senate to their will. But even within this powerful triumvirate, Crassus remained somewhat in his partner's shadow, never quite achieving the same level of public adoration. Pompey was constantly celebrated for his past conquests and his continued military successes. Caesar's legend grew with each victory in Gaul, solidifying his image as a brilliant military commander. Crassus, despite his crucial role in defeating Spartacus, was still largely seen as simply the richest man in Rome, and he desperately yearned for a military triumph of his own, something to finally match the glory of his rivals and secure his place in Roman history. He knew that to achieve this, he needed a foreign war, a chance to prove his leadership on the battlefield. He envisioned a glorious conquest, a campaign that would expand the borders of Rome and bring untold riches back to the Republic. This was his opportunity to cement his legacy, to be remembered not just as a wealthy financier, but as a great Roman general. And so his gaze turned east, towards the vast and largely unexplored territories beyond the Roman frontier. Specifically, his eyes fell upon the wealthy and mysterious Parthian Empire, a powerful kingdom that controlled much of the ancient Persian lands. It was there, in the heart of Parthia, that he hoped to finally win the military glory that had always eluded him, to prove himself the equal of Pompey and Caesar. But this burning ambition, this desperate desire for glory, would soon lead him and his legions into a catastrophic disaster, one that would shake the foundations of the triumvirate and have lasting consequences for Rome. Crassus's invasion of Parthia was driven by personal ambition, not Roman necessity. In his 60s, he sought to rival Alexander the Great and outshine Pompey and Caesar. As governor of Syria, he raised a massive army, pouring his fortune into its preparation. But he ignored advice, choosing to march his legions across the Mesopotamian desert, straight into a trap. The Roman infantry, built for European battlefields, was ill-suited for the open, arid plains. The Parthians, masters of cavalry and archery, waited. Crassus's men, exhausted by heat and thirst, were easy prey. The Parthians unleashed horse archers, raining arrows from afar, refusing close combat. The Romans, slow and heavily armored, could only endure the onslaught. Crassus's overconfidence and ignorance had led his army into the perfect killing ground. The stage was set for catastrophe. In 53 BCE, near Carrhae, Crassus's legions faced the Parthians. Surrounded and exhausted, the Romans were bombarded by Parthian horse archers. Their tactics failed. Arrows pierced even their shield formations. Publius, Crassus's son, led a desperate cavalry charge, only to be lured away and annihilated. The Parthians paraded Publius's head before the Romans, shattering morale. The Roman army was systematically destroyed, 20,000 killed, 10,000 captured. Crassus, broken by defeat and his son's death, fled with the survivors. During a supposed peace negotiation, he was lured into a trap. There, the final act of his tragedy unfolded. The richest man in Rome would pay the ultimate price. His end would become legend. The story of Crassus's death became one of antiquity's most enduring legends. Captured by the Parthians, he was mocked for his greed in a gruesome fashion. According to legend, they melted gold and poured it down his throat. "Sate your thirst for gold," they taunted. This brutal act became a symbol. The thing he craved most destroyed him. The tale spread across Rome and beyond, a cautionary fable against greed. Whether fact or fiction, the image of Crassus choking on molten gold eclipsed all else. His legacy became a warning, not a triumph. The richest man in Rome was remembered for the price of his insatiable desire. The historical record is less clear than the legend. Plutarch, writing a century later, describes Crassus's death in a chaotic skirmish. No mention of molten gold. Cassius Dio, writing later, gives us the famous gold story. Ancient historians often shaped tales to teach moral lessons, not just report facts. The molten gold story may have started as rumor or propaganda, fitting Crassus's reputation perfectly. Other sources say his head was sent to the Parthian king and used as a stage prop, a final humiliation. The truth is murky, but the legend endures. Most modern historians doubt the molten gold story. Plutarch's omission suggests it's likely a later embellishment. Crassus probably died in a chaotic brawl during failed negotiations. The gold legend may have been Parthian propaganda or a Roman campfire tale. Its power lies in its symbolism, poetic justice for a life of greed. The story endures because it offers a simple, unforgettable moral. Crassus's real fate is less important than the lesson his legend teaches. Crassus's story is a meditation on ambition and the dangers of insatiable desire. He had wealth, power, and influence, yet it was never enough. His quest for military glory led to ruin, not immortality. The molten gold legend, true or not, is the perfect metaphor for his fatal flaw. It warns that unchecked greed leads only to destruction. Crassus is remembered not as a conqueror, but as a cautionary tale. His story endures as a chilling warning. The most dangerous thirst is the one that can never be quenched. In the end, the richest man in Rome paid the ultimate price for wanting more.